Dave Barry here with National Recruiting Director Rob Cassidy. The 2024 rankings have been updated for the first time since the start of the high school basketball season. And Rob, we're going to talk about some of the big news out of that update. First, Tre Johnson, he stays at number one. Where do you things stand with him? Do you see him staying in that top spot?
He's been the most consistent guy of the bunch. There are some threats to him, I think, below. So I don't want to say for certain that he'll stay. It's very hard to maintain that top spot. But the Badunga kid below him, who is looking at schools like Purdue and Indiana and Cincinnati, has really got a chance. He's a little bit raw though. He kind of came out of nowhere last year. He's a hell of a defensive prospect and is really kind of becoming an offensive threat as well. I think he's got some designs that possibly he could take that top spot. Ian Jackson, who's committed to North Carolina, obviously was in that top spot for a little while, and I think could take it back. He was a bit inconsistent on the high school circuit this year. And then there's Dylan Harper, who is right underneath him, who's really interesting to watch and has gotten a lot better. He's a huge jump in this last rankings for good reason. He's a guy that's looking at Duke and he's looking at Rutgers. Those are probably the two players there for him.
All right, and then big jump from Leah McNeeley, small forward out of Florida. He jumps all the way from number 25 overall to it gets into the top 10 at number 7. What did you see from him to make that big move?
Yeah, McNeely is actually a Texas kid that's just playing at Montford Academy down there in Florida. He's one of those kind of Florida kids that end up at IMG or Montverde or one of those other basketball academies down there. He's always been kind of an offensive threat as long as we've known him for the last few years. He's come a long way in the peripherals. He's become a better defender. The motor is there. He's tipping passes. He's defending guys on the perimeter. And he's really a matchup problem. He shot the ball a lot better than he ever has been. And kind of we've been encouraged with his trajectory. He's one of those rare kids where every time you see him, he kind of tends to add something new to his game, whether it's a little thing or a big thing. He's a kid that lives by that get a little better every day philosophy, and you can kind of see him apply it on the court. His recruitment's going to be an interesting one to watch too, because he's a kid that we all thought was very, very high on Texas for a long time. It's hard to recruit to a basketball team without a basketball coach. So it's interesting to kind of see what will happen with him, whether Texas retains Rodney Perry, the interim coach, or if they hire somebody else. Indiana's also kind of probably the de facto leader there until Texas gets everything figured out. Oklahoma's involved to some respect as well.
All right, and then Ace Bailey, he was number 5 overall player, moved up only one spot to number 4. But the big news from him was last month when he committed to Rutgers. You said that was a bit of a surprise. Why was that a surprise to you?
Just completely out of nowhere. In this business, we kind of always kind of know when something like that's coming, or at least we have an idea. And I was with 4 other reporters at different companies at an event when this happened. It took all of us by shock. We were all kind of interrogating each other, like, did you know this was coming? And no, he just kind of did it out of nowhere. And I don't want to say it's a warning shot from Rutgers, but they're recruiting at a level that they've never recruited at. I mean, he's the highest commit ever, highest ranked commit ever. And now they're in on guys like Dylan Harper, whose brother played at the school. And even if he goes to Duke, that's not a recruitment that they would have been in on 2 or 3 years ago. So they've kind of got things rolling there in New Jersey. And it's really been interesting to monitor. And I think the Bailey recruitment could be a sign of things to come for them.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting to watch, see what comes out of Rutgers there. So, all right, well, stay tuned to Rivals.com for more from the 2024 rankings update. Thank you, Rob, for your time.
Hey, thanks for having me, David.